everyone, here with you today is me, Reyna, and this video is part 3 of my tenses series. If you haven't already watched part 1 and part 2, you better do that first and then you can come back and watch this one. It has been quite a while since I've last uploaded, so without any further ado, let's get started. Now, tenses are, like I've mentioned before, time and time again, it's quite complicated and it tends to be a bit difficult, especially if you can't remember what the uses are for each tense. However, it's not something to be taken too seriously. You shouldn't be too stressed about it because most of this comes quite naturally to everyone who learns. In our last 2 videos, we learned about the present tense and the past tense. So today we'll be talking about the last section, which is the future tenses. Now, one thing to note before we start with the future tenses is that many of these tenses, the uses and their formations may overlap with each other. This is because, like we already know, the future is unpredictable. We don't know what's going to happen. So the same rule applies to grammar, and this means that tenses can be used for, we have multiple tenses for the same thing, and this is kind of what makes the count of tenses when you ask different people change, because I just told you, I have been telling you for the past 2 videos that there are 12 tenses. There are people who will tell you that there are only 10 tenses. There are more people who will tell you there are maybe 16 tenses, 18 tenses, maybe even less than that. Now the main reason for this is the future tense, just because of how varied it is. So don't be too worried and let's just start. Now, the first one we're going to start with is the simple future or the future simple. Now, compared to the other tenses we're going to be talking about today, this one is slightly difficult. And this is because with different uses, we have different forms. Now, the 3 most important forms for the simple future is going to, present continuous and will. Let's go and talk about them in order. The first is going to. It is formed by, well, subject plus going to plus the verb in its base form and then any other part of the sentence you want to talk about. Now, going to is used when you're talking about plans or intentions. So, some examples are, we are going to buy a cake. I am going to start exercising regularly. These are my plans. Now, the second one is present continuous, and this is also used for plans, but we use it for plans which are fixed. Things that have a time and place for it to happen. So if we take my previous example, which was we are going to buy a cake, and if I fixed a certain time for it, say Tuesday, then I would say we are buying a cake on Tuesday. Here we use this present continuous to talk about something, to talk about a plan that we have fixed, that is going to happen at a certain time, on a certain day. Now, what is the actual difference between going to and present continuous in the terms of the simple future? Very, very simple difference, and it's the only thing I remember. If you're talking about a simple basic plan which has on which there's no other details mentioned, most importantly a time at which it is going to occur, then you're going to use going to. However, if you have a time mentioned, if you know it's going to occur at a certain time, if you have fixed it, then you will use the present continuous while you're talking about it. Now, we are going to talk about the third most important form of the simple future. And the third most important form is one that we actually associate with the future tense much more than the others. And this is will. When we say future tense, we automatically associate it with will. Will has, well, mainly three different uses: instant decisions, offers and promises. Now, what is an instant decision? Because that's the first use we're going to discuss. And an instant decision is actually a decision that you make on spot. Quite simple, really. Let's take an example. Say you're at a fast food restaurant and you're ordering something. So there you will say, I will have a burger and a large fries. That order is a decision you made at the time of speaking. You made it right now. Some other examples are, Say if a phone is ringing and you will say, I will get the phone. A decision made at the time of speaking. Now, another use of the simple future is to talk about predictions or to make predictions. Now, to make predictions, we use two of the forms we talked about earlier, and they are will and going to. Once again, there is a bit of a difference. We use will when we're talking about a prediction that is made based on our knowledge, our personal experience. So, such an example for this is, I know you will love this movie. Now, I would have only said this if I had watched this movie myself and I have some experience that yes, you're going to love this movie. And another example is, I know it will rain because I saw the rain clouds coming. Here, this is your knowledge, your personal knowledge that rain clouds are coming. It is your knowledge that when rain clouds come, it's going to rain. So, here I used will because it is my personal knowledge. The second is going to. We use going to when we are talking about something, when we are talking about a prediction that is based on something that has already occurred in the present. So, one example for this is, I have cleaned my room and so I know my mother is going to be proud of me, or my mother is going to be happy. Now this is based on something that has happened in the present. This situation is based on something that has happened in the present. I have cleaned my room. And based on this, based on what has happened, I know that my mother is going to be proud or she is going to be happy. The second tense of today is the future continuous tense. We form it like so. Subject plus will be plus the verb in its ing form. Now, one of the uses of the future continuous is to talk about an ongoing action in the future. Let's take an example. Say your friends have invited you to go with them to say the cinema on Tuesday, taking that today is maybe Saturday or Sunday. Now, you on the other hand happen to have a bit of a workload and you know you have to complete it. And so you also know that you're going to be working late night on Tuesday. So you will tell them, I'm sorry, but I cannot come. I will be working late. Like all other continuous tenses, there is a beginning or a starting point for the action. And in this case, it just so happens that the beginning or starting point is in the future, which is in this case maybe Tuesday morning, Tuesday afternoon. And the thing is, it's going to be continuing. So it starts at a point and it continues. So in our scenario, it starts at Tuesday morning and continues till Tuesday night. It might even just go on till Wednesday. Now another example is, I will be staying home tomorrow. The action has started, I'm staying at home. It is continued, I'm still staying at home. And that is tomorrow, which is, the future. Now there's one more use for the future continuous, and that is to talk about a fixed or routine event. Routine events are generally just habits, things that you think are going to happen quite often. And fixed events are once again just fixed events. It has a specific time in which it's going to happen. Or it just has a specific time where you know it's going to happen. And one such example is, I will be staying at my friend's house on Thursday. This is a fixed event. I know that on Thursday I will be staying at my friend's house. Now, will be plus verb ing isn't the only form you can use here in this current scenario. You can also say, I am staying at my friend's house on Thursday. I am going to stay at my friend's house on Thursday. These two sentences are also valid and they also mean the same thing. So yes, you can use the present continuous or the going to form to give the same meaning. That something is going to happen that something is a fixed event and it's going to happen at some point in the future. The third tensor day is the future perfect. Now how do we form this? We form it like so. Subject plus will have plus the verb in its V3 or past participle form. Now the usage of this tense is to talk about a completed action in the future. Now what do we mean by this? Now here's an example. By August, Aaron will have saved $600. That's a very huge amount, and I don't think I would ever have saved that much, but who cares? Well, the action of having saved $600 is a past or completed action. But the fact here is that this action will not have been completed until August, saying that this month is any month before August. So it is a completed action in the future. Another sentence is, by 5 p.m. we will have painted the living room. We have obviously started painting the living room at some time before 5 p.m. And so when we are saying this, we are saying that the painting project, yeah, it's literally just a project, it would have only finished by 5 p.m. but we're referring to it as a completed action. The fourth and last tense of the day is the future perfect continuous tense. The first thing to note is that this tense is actually not very commonly used, so you don't really have to worry about it, but it is still a good idea to know. The formation is the subject plus will have been plus the verb in its ing form. Now what's its usage? The usage of the future perfect continuous tense is to talk about an action that is ongoing in the future, but it has a duration mentioned. Here are some examples. By August, Aaron will have been saving money for 6 months. What's happening here? What's happening is that we are taking a situation in the future or a time period in the future, which is by August, and we are saying that at that time Aaron will have been saving money, which is a continuous action, and the duration given here is 6 months. He has been saving money for 6 months. Another example is, by 5 p.m. we will have been painting the living room for 10 hours. Same situation is happening here. By 5 p.m., which is a point in the future, you have been painting the living room, which is a continuous action, and the duration given here is 10 hours. We have been painting the living room for 10 hours now. Now that we're done with all the future tenses, let's have a review. On the screen right now, you will see all the future tenses we've discussed today with their formation and an example each. And with that, we are done. The tenses series is over, and so is this video. I hope you guys have all understood something. But before I end, I want to give you guys a quick note about these tenses. Well, only the tenses we discussed today. The future simple and the future perfect continuous tenses are not tenses that are used frequently. The future simple tense is only used frequently in spoken English. So if that is what you are trying to learn, or if that is what you are trying to improve, then it is a good idea to spend some time learning the simple future or the future simple. However, the future perfect continuous tense is much too wordy for many people, and so most people will not speak about it. Most people won't use it. And the most common place you could find it is in some extremely wordy, long literature piece which is quite old, or like someone's attempting to sound old, and that's probably the only place where you will find it. Otherwise, many people just tend to go for the future perfect and just keep out on the duration. And remember, tenses are not something you should be stressing about. It's something that tends to come naturally for many people. And not being able to learn tenses in the very first go is not the end of the world, and you'll be just fine. Now that this video is over, well, technically over, I'll see you guys very soon. My exams are over, and my sister will probably show her face in maybe my next video. So I'll see you guys later. Bye!